Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an IFBB Pro bodybuilder. Today's guest is Kuba Cielen. Kuba, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, my man. I appreciate it and very much looking forward to it as well.
For sure. So the first question I'd like to ask you, Kuba, is who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
So, favorite bodybuilders of all time. I think the first person that is my favorite is definitely my mentor and one of my best friends, Jordan Peters. Again, Jordan has had a huge influence on the industry. But when it comes to other bodybuilders that you know have been all-time favorites, it's definitely Dorian. Just for the way he shaped the training industry with bringing, you know, real training, as I would like to call it. And he's a very knowledgeable man as well. And I think many people actually don't appreciate how much thought process went into Dorian's training and how much he actually thought about what he was doing. And I think that's definitely something that's quite big, because Dorian wasn't just a hard trainer, he was also a thinker. And that's something I definitely resonate with a lot. Now, Jay Cutler, just for, you know, being a great ambassador for the sport. Ronnie for being the greatest of all time. And from the recent days, it has to be James Hollinshead, just because I love James. He's one of my friends, and I know how hard he works and how much he loves it as well. And then I think Hunter has to be the one as well that's in the lead. So that's pretty much like my top six. You know, I know you only want a few, but I think you know, I had to kind of cover all these just because they are the guys that, you know, I genuinely look up to, my favorite physiques, and just for what they bring to the sport as well. You know, that goes a long way for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. I appreciate you being thorough. So let us know, Kuba, at what age did you start lifting weights, and then why did you start lifting weights at that specific age?
So I was actually interested in lifting weights from a very, very young age. When we used to train a little bit when she was younger, and when she started going to the gym, I actually wanted to go with her, and she was like, "No, you're too young. You're too young." And so did my brother. Actually, my brother started training back in when I lived in Poland, but you'll get to know all the story very shortly. But the interest was there in lifting weights from a very, very young age. When I was a strongman as a little lad, you know, I always wanted to lift stuff, and I always wanted to kind of get in the gym and train. Now, I started training properly when I actually moved to England at the age of 11. And at the same time, I started boxing. But initially, I actually took up competitive boxing, and I trained alongside of it, obviously lifting weights as well. So from the age of 11 up until 16, I was pretty much competitive at national level at boxing, and I was lifting weights at the same time. So the lifting began at a very early age when I was 11. And for me, it was always the training. It was always the doing that really fueled the passion, much more than competing in itself. You know, I even have like little notes from a newspaper article from a boxing coach, and it was like, this lad literally lives in the gym, and nothing's really changed. You know, I think the passion, if anything, as my knowledge developed more, and as I got deeper into the sport as well with bodybuilding training, I think the desire and the passion grew with it as well. And I think it continues to do so as well now. So I've kind of molded my whole life around bodybuilding and training. So it all started at age of 11. And I know quite early, but, you know, the passion was there. And I don't think I've had a longer break than like 5 to 6 days since the age of 11 of actual training. And you know, it's been a passion ever since.
Yeah, love it, man. Now, you mentioned that your mom was lifting weights when you were younger. How did she kind of get into the weight training?
Yeah, so she did a little bit just to stay fit, you know, but it wasn't anything serious, and she was busy with work at the time, etc. as well. So it wasn't very lasting, as she had a lot on her plate. But in general, the culture in Poland is all about, you know, either lifting weights or drink alcohol. And, you know, for me, it was more so around lifting weights. So it never really stemmed from my parents. It always stemmed from my own desire to do it. And nobody really ever, you know, encouraged me to do so either. It was always kind of off my own back. And I always made it happen, you know, by myself.
Cool. Okay, so you already mentioned growing up in Poland and then moving to the UK at 11. So if you don't mind, Kuba, This is kind of the part of the podcast that we really enjoy, kind of getting to know you guys outside of what we see on Instagram and things like that. So talk a little bit more about your childhood. What were you like as a young person? You got into boxing. Did you play any other athletics or sports? Just share a little bit about your upbringing with us, please.
So I was 11 years old when I moved to England, and as you can imagine, coming from a completely different environment to a new one, not speaking a word of English, it was quite tough. So, my upbringing was tough in general, but, I'm not going to get into nitty gritty of that. But in general, when I moved to England, it was tough. Parents always worked. The home situation wasn't really the best. And it was definitely challenging to have to learn a new language and have to deal with the implications that you get being a foreigner at arguably a school that has never ever really had anyone apart from English lads there. And at the time, that was like 2007 or 2008. It was rough. So that's pretty much where the journey started with lifting and boxing. Really, it's like my desire to do it was there always, but I never had the opportunity in Poland. But when I actually started training in England, it was at school initially in a fitness suite. That's where it all began, and then slowly we kind of moved on to a real gym, a boxing gym, which was Tommy's Malthouse gym, and then things went on from there. But to be honest, my life has always revolved around training. There was no other sports that I had in mind. It was always boxing at first, because boxing is also, my interest and my passion as well. But as I got deeper into it, and as I started training more, my desire to lift weights got higher and higher. So slowly that passion for boxing, I started to see a bit of a shift where I wanted to chase muscle mass. I wanted to grow. I wanted to get stronger. And my desire to box started to diminish against the desire to actually lift weights and be in the gym and do what I'm doing. So it was almost like a natural progression where it was always kind of my own thought process that led me towards that. Now, at the age of 15, I actually joined up to a real bodybuilding gym. And that's where the journey started. It was Bruno's Malthouse. Well, it was actually Malthouse gym, and then Bruno's gym. And there was the two gyms really in the area that I lived at that was known. One was a boxing gym and one was a bodybuilding gym. There was like, the fitness gyms, but nobody ever spoke about those, and nobody was ever interested. There was only the two gyms there in the area. And at the time, Bruno's gym was incredible. Great equipment, well looked after. Bruno was an ex-bodybuilder himself, very, very known, quite knowledgeable as well. And that is where the journey started. I joined the gym at age of 15, and that is when I pretty much stopped boxing competitively, and I started lifting weights and eating 6 meals a day. And I gained around 30 pounds in like 3 months or even more, where I went from a very, very lean boxer to, quite a bulky lad at the age of 15. And it got to the point where, my mum was getting pulled into school. It was like, look, we're worried about your son. We don't know what's going on. I started doing all these meal prep. He's bringing all these potatoes, blending tuna, drinking tuna, bringing that to the, to school. And one of my teachers, I'll always remember a couple of things from my teachers at school. One of them, it's actually called Mr. Turner, Arctic Monkeys. Anyone knows Arctic Monkeys knows bands. Alex Turner's dad, he taught my school. And he was the person that told me, like, this lad can be whoever he wants to be in life. And that will stick with me for the rest of my life, because that's something I never really thought about. And then I reminded myself of that when I had to make certain decisions in life to really push me forward. So, and the second person was my actual French teacher, when we had like a big meeting, because, I was a bit of a rough lad back at school. I wasn't really interested in learning. I did well, I did well at school. I always did, but I wasn't interested in learning at all. All the thing, and that was my teacher's words. The only thing he's interested in is what time he's going to train, what he's going to eat, and what time he's going to eat. and what time he can leave to go and train. That's the only thing he's interested in, and there's nothing else we can do about it. And that was very much apparent from like a very, very early age. And from a very early age, I was quite vocal with my goals and what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. And a lot of people shot me down at the time. It was people at the gym that ridiculed me. A lot of my friends that I'm still friends with now supported me always. And they always had the belief in me as well. And from a very early age, I said to Bruno, one day I'm going to own a gym. And it's going to be just like yours. It's going to be the best gym in the area. And it's going to be, it's going to be well known. It's going to be well looked after. And it's going to be the best of the best. And I said, one day, I will win the shows that I plan to do, and I will be a great bodybuilder. And it was always a vision in the background. But what took me there was the day-to-day work. I showed up every single day, and I always remember that they had like a little sign on the scales at the gym where it said consistency is the key. And from the age of 15, even to be honest, even from the age of 11, I have been uber consistent every single day with my nutrition, with my training, and with everything that I do that revolves around bodybuilding training. As the process went on, things have got a little bit more accurate, as obviously my knowledge base when I was a young kid wasn't the best. And the advice I had given was just, ridiculous bro science from back in the day, which is just retarded. But the fact of the matter was, I showed up every single day, and I was extremely consistent. There was no days missed. There was no meals missed. I was extremely accurate with everything that I did, and it paid off. I did my first show at 16. I won that first show under 18s. Then the story went on from there. I was a very, very successful junior bodybuilder. I won pretty much every single, not pretty much, but I have won every single junior title there is in the country. I've won the NABA Team UK, NABA British Finals as a junior. I think it was Junior Universe, Junior Mr. UK. And then we moved on to IFBB, which back then was UKBFF. And I won on the same day, I won the Junior British Finals and the heavyweights. And that was 2017 when James Collins had actually won his pro card on the same day. So I managed to share a very special day with James. I actually shared his first pro victory with him as well in Spain on the same stage. So that was my pro debut as well. So the story went on from there, buddy. It's something I've spoke of before, but looking back at it now and putting things into context, I think it's definitely been a bit of a wild journey, because my life could have gone down a very different path easily. And I'm certainly glad it hasn't. And the reason why it hasn't gone down a bad path is down to bodybuilding. And I will always say, like, I owe a lot to bodybuilding, because bodybuilding's not only saved my life, but bodybuilding has got me to a place where I am now and has given me, my whole life. And, without bodybuilding, I wouldn't have the life I have right now. And I wouldn't be living my own dream every single day. Like, I wake up every morning, and sometimes I have to appreciate that everything that I've dreamt of as a kid and everything that I worked through as a kid, and I had to do everything off my own back, I've managed to achieve, and I'm living my dream now. So it's been a bit of a hell of a ride.
Okay, now I love just the direction we're going to go here, just with your story, Kuba. But I want to ask you, back in kind of the beginning, when you're that tween or that young teenager, and you were exposed to the first time to bodybuilding. Do you remember, like, when you when you first saw your first like professional bodybuilder, or how were you first exposed to bodybuilding? And then what do you think was like the draw or the attraction to you specifically to bodybuilding? Because we all kind of have our own story within that.
Right. So my first show was actually, I was actually took to the first show by the gym owner. And on that day, I actually met Dorian Yates, because he was at that show with his brand back in the day, the DY Nutrition, when it first came out. I believe it was like 2007. He was actually there, and I managed to meet him. Now, seeing that show live and seeing a guest poser, which back in the day was called Gary Lister, he was a mountain of a man. I was like, I don't want to do anything else. And that was at the age of 15, by the way. And not only that, but seeing the work that the bodybuilders was putting in during the contest prep and off season in the gym, that's what also drove me to want to do it. And then once I'd begun myself, bodybuilding has gave me a purpose. It has given me the drive, the motivation, and it has instilled the good habits into me that has allowed me to thrive in every other aspect in life as well. So for me, it's not just about bodybuilding. It's about really the way it's shaped me and formed me as a man, because I've never had many positive influences on me in my life. And I've never had anyone really steer me in the right positive direction. I feel like bodybuilding has raised me to be the man that I am right now in a very peculiar way, because, you know, a lot of people look at bodybuilding and demonize it for various things, but I look at bodybuilding as almost a lifestyle that has shaped something wonderful out of a person that could have really been, you know, not the person that I'd ever want to be. I think that's kind of the lightest way of putting it, and I'm pretty sure everyone can get the picture. You know, it's put me from a wrong path and a dark path onto a very, very productive and a very, I would even say, healthier path, and you know, a much better path for me to actually achieve something and be someone. And without bodybuilding, I don't think I'd be the person that I am today.
So you said you did your first competition at 16. How many years did it take you to earn your IFBB Pro card from that first competition?
First shot at 16, and I earned my IFBB Pro card at 24. So 8 years it had taken me to actually earn my IFBB Pro status. So yes, I've been a pro for 3 years, and arguably I did win my pro card a little bit too early. At the time, you know, I wouldn't say I was a pro standard. You know, I was a great bodybuilder. I was good, and I beat some great lads. But you know, I'm always the biggest critic for myself, and I think, you know, could have been better. I think that's the way to put it.
So why don't you talk about you know, somebody that you brought up when we first through that first question I asked you, Jordan Peters. Talk about, you know, what his relationship with you. What does that mean to you? I mean, he's a coach, he's a mentor, he's a friend. Why don't you just discuss a little bit more in depth about Jordan? Because all of us who are bodybuilding fans and in the bodybuilding world, we know of Jordan. I think we respect him. So talk a little bit about Jordan, please, Kuba.
So I started working with Jordan literally the day after 2017 British Finals. And we spoke briefly, you know, beforehand. I've always been a massive fan. And Jordan, anyone that knows Jordan, Jordan is a huge fan of bodybuilding. He loves the sport. He breathes it. Still to this day now, you know, although he has taken a step away from competitive bodybuilding, he's still a bodybuilder through and through. And his mind is just wonderful when it comes to training. You know, he has been one of the most influential people in my whole life since the time I actually started working together. And I will be the first person to say I owe Jordan a lot of my successes through his teachings, the way he has paved the way for me, and what he has given and the tools he has given me ever since we started working together, and obviously ever since I started working with him as an athlete for him as well. And I feel like not enough people give him credit for the wonderful things that he has done for the industry, especially in Britain. British bodybuilding would not be the same without Jordan Peters. And I will argue with anyone who tries to say different, because that is a fact. Jordan has brought British bodybuilding back to life since Dorian. And that is a fact. With the support he has given us, and every single athlete, every single great bodybuilder pretty much every single educator has, in one way or another, been pushed or supported or coached by Jordan at one point in their life. Obviously, James is back working with him, and I can honestly say Jordan is not only my best friend now, but he has been such a great figure to me, and especially in the recent years, the past 2 years especially, he has been more than a father figure for me, because he has allowed me to progress emotionally and physically as a person. And the support that he gives me and continues to give other people as well is just incredible. You know, and the knowledge that he still continues to provide for us all is just immense. And, you know, the thing with Jordan as well, the biggest thing that he has taught me is how to actually communicate. And that's something I've always struggled with. And that's something I've never been able to do. And there is not many people in this world that I feel like I can genuinely speak to. You know, even when I first started a relationship with my wife, that was always an issue between us. And even with friends. And I feel like Jordan has allowed me to become the person I've always aspired to. And there's a couple of influential people in my life that has, you know, has contributed towards that. But I think Jordan in particular, just with the way he is, the support he has given us, and the opportunities also created for us, British bodybuilding, and for me especially, you know, it's definitely been life-changing. And I don't think Jordan appreciates, and I don't think Jordan even understands himself, the impact that he has had worldwide on bodybuilding industry. And I think we all need to remind him of the person that he is, and what he has done, because even he often forgets. And trust me, Jordan is extremely humble. That's the thing. He is so humble, and he doesn't actually realize that his contribution has arguably paved the way for so many people, especially from training perspective. You know, he's a pioneer. There's no other words about it. There's no other words for it. He really is. So without Jordan, I can honestly say, Jordan has probably a couple more people in my life. I would not be the person that I am today without Jordan, and I would not be what I am today without Jordan. And I will never be afraid to admit that. I will be the first person to say it. You know, I don't have an ego to say that, you know, there hasn't been people that have given me the opportunity and have given me the tools and help to get me to where I am, you know.
Love that. Now, I want to ask you something. You just said kind of Jordan has helped you progress emotionally, and also like you know, the communication side of things. Can you get into a little bit more detail about what that means, Kuba? What does that look like?
So I've always been a person that never really spoke about my emotions and never really spoke about the way I feel, because from my background and my environment, that is a massive sign of weakness. So I've never been able to communicate properly in order to overcome certain issues, or in order to actually resolve certain issues as well. And that's a huge thing when you're trying to build relationships in business, when you're trying to build relationships in life. That's something you have to nail down. Now, the way Jordan can speak to me can influence me in many ways. So he basically got me to open up in many ways and actually speak to him and really tell him deeply how I feel. And that line of communication, once that starts to open and you can trust someone with it, like I can trust him, that is a massive game changer. And that has allowed me to be a better businessman as well, because my communication skills now are far better with my gym, with my business partners. So I'm able to communicate more with my wife, with my friends. So this has not only benefited me as a person on an emotional level, but it's also benefited me as a coach and an athlete, because the way I can communicate with my athletes is far better. The way I can communicate and relay my own feedback with Jordan and Meg is also far better. So the way he has supported me and allowed me and showed me how to communicate has certainly paid off, because it's made me a better businessman, it's made me a better coach, it's made me a better husband, and a far better athlete as well.
Okay, excellent, man. Talk to me about your gym, UltraFlex Gym. When did you open that? And, you know, from a very young age, you said that was something that you had a vision for your life. It was a goal. It was a dream. So talk about fulfilling that dream and opening that gym, and what does that mean to you current day, Kuba?
So it meant a lot. The gym opened in 2017, January 9th, right? And from a very young age, I was always extremely driven to work. And I was always very smart and never, ever wasted a single penny, right? So from the age of 18, I started working indoors at a nightclub. And I actually started PTing from age of 17. So already, you know, I was quite busy. And at the time I had two incomes, you know, from the age of 18, I worked my arse off and I saved every single penny and never spent, I never actually, I never went on holiday until 2007. I'd never been abroad away, apart from obviously being Poland and traveling to England. Not a single holiday, not a single thing that would ever waste any money. I saved up and I worked my arse off. And I got an opportunity in 2017 to open up a gym. That was actually 2016. It took us 3-4 months, but I got an opportunity with a few guys to open up a gym. And long story short, we opened January 9th, 2017. And at the time, it was called Iron Athlete. And the vision that I had was always a lot different in comparison to the guys I was working with at the time. Because for me, I always played a long-term vision. I never relied on the business because I knew that it could be a successful business one day. But I also had an understanding that when you first open a business, you have to reinvest into it and you have to build the business before you start taking money out of it. Whereas the other lads did not have the same perception, unfortunately. And I was still, at the time, before we opened the gym, I was literally PTing full time and I was still working on nightclub doors. So I actually left as we opened the gym because my coaching got so busy. My online coaching, I'm a PT in 2017, just before I opened the gym. I was full-time PT and full-time coaching. So I had that income set, whereas the other guys did not. So halfway through the year, we basically come to terms where I was able to actually buy one of them out. And at the same time, I was approached by my business partners, who are currently Mike and Charlie, both extremely influential figures in my life as well, Charlie especially. You know, he's been a mentor of mine as well, a very successful businessman, like one of the most successful people I know, in fact. Incredibly successful when it comes to finances as well. The man is an entrepreneur, but in a true meaning, not one of them guys that, you know, says they're an entrepreneur. Like, he is legit. Like, he is truly legit. Put it this way, the first meeting that we actually had when we was actually going to partnership, his Rolls Royce pulled up outside the gym, and you know, it's got UF1 at the time. That was the reg plate, which is UltraFlex 1. So he just opened the Leeds gym, which is Leeds UltraFlex, a few months prior to this, and a lot of their members used to come and visit my gym at the weekends. And obviously, we knew of each other from competing, especially myself and Mike. And I took my wife to Leeds for her birthday, and we trained at UltraFlex gym, which is their gym at the time. And I walked in, I trained, obviously knew Charlie and Mike, and I was like, you know, bit of introduction. We spoke for a little while, and Mike actually said, "Look, we know you've got a gym. It's a great place. We'd like to come and check it out, and maybe, you know, there's an offer on the table." And long story short, we had the meeting, and the offer that they gave me was one offer I could not refuse. I basically could go into partnership with them guys and build a gym of my dreams, and that's what's happened. And sometime later, 2023, 2022, current 2023 now, I would definitely say, I can confidently say that my gym, obviously in business with Mike and Charlie, it's the best gym in England. There's no other gym really touches it. When it comes to equipment, when it comes to atmosphere, you know, we've got coaches from all over the country relocating just to train out of the gym. So I can confidently say it's one of the best facilities in the country. And when it comes to equipment, when it comes to what we offer, no other gym can even come close, if I'm totally honest with you. So it's been a dream. It's definitely been a huge dream of mine. But one thing that I kind of thought about it. Where it's like, yes, I've been extremely lucky to meet my business partners and for this to happen, but at the same time, that luck was created through my actions, through my hard work, through my competing, and through doing what I did previous to that. So there's no such thing as luck. It's more so my discipline and my work ethic that had brought me to a place where the opportunities opened up for me to actually capitalize on them, like opening the gym in 2017, and then again going into partnership with you know, immense business partner like Charlie and Mike. So a bit of a long-winded story, but I think I needed to cover it all just so you get a full picture of how the gym was actually created and when it came about. You know, I actually opened my gym before Charlie did. Charlie opened up UltraFlex a few months after, and obviously Charlie is a very smart man. He's a very smart man. So as you can imagine, he gave me an offer that I definitely could not turn down. And you know, the rest is history. I'm definitely incredibly grateful for the offer as well, because it's certainly benefited me and it's certainly benefited him going to business with me as well. So you know, it goes hand in hand.
What's the equipment that you have your gym filled with? Is there like is it all kinds of different brands? Is it just a couple specific? What's the main equipment in there, Kuba?
So we've got Prime. We've got pretty much got a full set of Prime. We're the only gym in the country really that has a full set. I think there's only a couple of pieces from Prime that I do not have. I've got Prime, I've got Strive, Atlantis. I've got some bits from Gymleco. We actually have some custom made bits as well. I've got some of the hammer strength stuff that is, you know, good. I've got the original Cybex. I've got some of the new Cybex as well. So every single machine has been hand selected. It's a best mixture of every brand. We've got some flex leverage stuff as well. So it isn't just one brand. I've literally had a look at every single brand that we have on the table and picked out all the best equipment from there. I've actually just found, thanks to Adrian Morris, who's actually purchased it for the gym, the Mark 1 Cybex hack, the original GO one, and a third Cybex hack that's going to be in Cybex, sorry, a third Cybex Smith as well. And we also have our Arsenal strength order, which will come this week, hopefully. So we've pretty much got all the best pieces hand selected from every single brand.
Cool. Love it. I want to ask you, in terms of mindset, I want you to kind of just expound a little bit more on like your day-to-day mindset. How important is mindset in bodybuilding, but not just bodybuilding, but also business and life? Like we know that mindset's important and mindset is everything, but how do you kind of structure your mindset each day to continue to pursue what you want to pursue and be the best version of yourself, Kuba?
So I don't necessarily attribute it to mindset alone. It's more so the discipline on the mindset. So my days are very, very structured every single day. And that structure and that discipline, it's what has allowed me to thrive in bodybuilding, in business, and in everything that I put my mind to. Like the amount of work I can do is pretty damn high because of the way I commit myself to each and every single day. So we can talk about mindset all day long, but you need to have the desire and the discipline to commit to everything that you do on a daily basis. Now, your mindset needs to be strong enough to be able to sustain that year around. Anyone can be committed at times or driven at times when motivation is high. Motivation aside, my days look exactly the same every single goddamn day. 5 a.m. wake up, 8 p.m. bedtime. That is non-negotiable every single day. I have 9 hours in bed. As soon as I wake up, go downstairs, hydrate, take the dog on a walk, work begins. And then I've got set structure across the day for my work blocks, my meal timings, the bits that I need to get ready, organize, everything's structured and set day to day. Now, I've got a journal that I follow every single day. That's pretty much on my desk daily here. Not only that, there's a big whiteboard in my wife's and mine office that has my non-negotiable tasks filled every single day. And the non-negotiable principles that I follow on a daily basis as well. So mindset aside, you need to have the desire and discipline to commit to everything that you do on a daily basis, because it's something that will allow you to thrive. The biggest difference I see with bodybuilders that really start to progress is the people that get the shit together and get the day-to-day structure together. And that is also a trait that allows you to succeed in business. If you are productive and you are organized, you're never going to miss meals. You are always going to get sleep. You are always going to have productive training sessions, because you're never chasing your tail. You are always prepared and you are always ready and you are always committed to the task. And there's never a place where you've not completed something because you didn't account for it.
Right.
So in terms of mindset, you need to be a savage every single day. You need to set goals, and then you need to break down, what can I do every single day in order to achieve these goals? Once you set that out, you commit towards that. And then regardless of where your mind is at a given day, whether you feel tired or unmotivated, you do what you've set out to do on that to-do list, no matter what. It's non-negotiable. So when it comes to mindset, I'm like a dog with a bone. No matter what, I make it happen. And that is a mindset you need to have if you want to reach your potential in anything that you do. Bodybuilding especially. Like, you will not see me sway away from the plan. Not for nothing, ever. I will not miss a meal. I will not miss a training session. But at the same time, I will not miss my time with my clients. I will not miss a single feedback given. Do you know why? Because I commit to every single day, and I make sure that I am on top of my shit on a daily basis. So I do not have room for error, because it's all accounted for on a daily basis.
Excellent. May I ask what some of your non-negotiables are on you and your wife's whiteboard?
Oh, that's a good one. So I think the most important one is 9 hours in bed every single night. And our bedtime has been the same for the past 2 years, 8 p.m. bed and wake up at 5 a.m. That has been a game changer. It's very unsociable, but that's fine. We're not that sociable anyway. Secondly, I've got some goals that are set on there, that I have been chasing down. Some are personal, some are obviously regarding business, some are bodybuilding goals as well. But I think the most important ones are always around routine and definitely prioritizing some personality traits that I have personally as well. So for me, these are the things that I have to stick to and abide by, because these are the things that really push me forward towards reaching my goals. And anyone can have their own version, but for me, it got to a point where a couple of years ago, I had to sit down and I was like, what is my weaknesses? What do I need to work on? Let's write them down and let's make sure that I work on them and make them non-negotiable. So for me, it's always based around my structure, my routine, making sure that I hit my nail. I actually nailed down my actual nutrition, nailed down my water intake. It's like every single rest day. That's one of them actually as well. Every single rest day, I do a sauna and ice bath every single rest day. And from 3 p.m. onwards on a rest day when I'm not training, that is my time when I switch off. So I have 5 hours on rest days where I actually spend time with my wife and prioritize my recovery, both physical and mental recovery, so that I can be sharper for my work and give back to my clients, and obviously give back to other tasks that I do have with business as well.
What's excuse me, what's your long-term goal in terms of being a competitive bodybuilder?
Get to the Olympia. That's the long-term goal. Be a competitive athlete that regularly qualifies for Olympia. Now, I'm not deluded. I'm not one of the guys that will sit here and be like, right, I want to be a top 3 Olympian, because that's probably never going to happen. But I know with my ability, I will make it to the Olympia. And for me, that is my long-term goal. I'm 28 now, and that is definitely my long-term goal that I want to hit, ideally before I'm 30. So I've got 2 years to tick that off, and I believe I can do so as well. I'm not going to be one of the guys that is, living in the dream in a fashion that's just unrealistic. But I think my realistic, goal that I know I'll take off is I will be a competitive Olympian. And that is the long-term goal as a professional bodybuilder that I will take off.
What placing would you like to get at the Olympia at some point? What's that number or that goal?
Top 10 is the dream.
Love it. Okay, we're going to start wrapping up because I know you have your schedule and you have clients, you have a call right after this. So I do want to touch on, people would be very angry with me if I didn't bring up training with you, right? Now I know you're, a disciple of Jordan, but just touch a little bit about training from when you were a little bit younger, like in your early 20s to kind of now. Has your training evolved? Have you had to maybe make some adjustments just in terms of maybe longevity? If so, what does that kind of look like specifically?
Oh, completely. So for me, I've always been a guy that was on a suicide mission in the gym. That's the easiest way to put it. I've trained with some of the hardest trainers in the world, and I can hand my heart, say I will keep up with anyone in the gym, and that is a fact. But what has changed for me dramatically is my execution and paying attention to not just training hard, but how I actually train, and really developing my knowledge around execution and mechanics, where I'm not doing movements that just simply do not fit me. And that is the biggest game changer for me when it came to actually making progress. Is one, having the ability to control my aggression in the gym. And secondly, have the ability to actually execute movements correctly and know what movements I can actually do well and be progressive with safely, rather than just going in the gym and just being a meathead and just lifting the weight from A to B and just being impressive. And it was a hard shift to do, because when we opened our gym initially, half of us powerlifters as well, as my gym is not only one of the most elite facilities for bodybuilders, but we're pretty much the only gym in the country with like 8 lifting platforms and 6 squat racks. Every deadlift bar variation that you can find. All the power bars, comp spec plays. So we have had some of the strongest guys in the country, come out of our gym as well. And when you are in the environment every single day, and you've got guys that are benching 220, you've got guys that are pulling 300 for fun, squatting 300 for fun, some guys pulling 400 for fun, and that's kilos, not pounds, guys. You almost go in the gym with a mindset like, I've got to be the top dog here. So for me, the biggest shift has been really learning about execution and learning about being able to make more progress, being more sensible in the gym, and knowing that there's a better way. And once you open yourself up to all these ideas, it's almost like a whole new world open up to training for me. It's like, as with Jordan is, my mentor, we don't agree on every single thing when it comes to training, because we all have our own opinions. And Jordan even knows that. But we both have the same passion for learning about training, and we both have the same passion for getting after it in the gym. And I think that's what works well between us both. And I think from a training perspective, it's been a literally upside down shift, where I've gone from someone that had no regard for logging lifts, had no regard for correct execution and setup, to now being very much the other way, where I don't go in this single session without logging the lifts. I pay more attention to my execution and myself than ever before. So right now, I'm probably lifting the same loads as I was when I was 20, when I was 21, if not even lighter. But I am making far more progress from less right now, because I'm just so much more accurate with what I do in the gym and how I do it. Also, I pretty much lived in the gym for, since the age of 16, 7 days a week. That was my training. And I would train until I would get sick. And then I would rest, because I'd get sick for like 3 to 4 days. And then I would be back in the gym. So that was the only time I would rest. Whereas now, I'm a big advocate of a push-pull leg split, or a variation of. And that's pretty much what I follow. So my training's gone from bro science meathead, go in the gym and try and kill yourself every single session, no surrender, no tapping out, to a more of a methodical, calculated approach that is not only going to serve me from longevity purposes, but will also keep me together you know, it's going to keep me injury free, but allow me to progress at a much faster pace than ever before as well.
Excellent. All right, Kuba, we're going to wrap it up right there. I do want to ask you before I let you go, somebody that's watching or listening to this, they're a teenager, they're in their early 20s. They're just kind of like realizing like this bodybuilding thing is kind of like, you know, what you realized when you were a teen, like they love it. They're going to pursue it. They're going to go all in. What's something that you can kind of share that you kind of maybe know now from all of your life experiences with some of the younger viewers, some of the younger listeners that that might just kind of help them move forward in the pursuit of this bodybuilding passion that they have as you do?
For the first year of my bodybuilding journey, people told me I would never beat anyone. I would never be a good bodybuilder. I would never get anywhere in life. So if you have any negative comments, or if you have anyone trying to really piss all over your dream, because that's what people did for me, do not listen to them. Do your thing, enjoy it, and please have an open mind to all the information that we are exposed to these days. Please do not listen to the biggest guy in the gym, because I can promise you 9 times out of 10, the biggest guy in the gym will not even know how he got to that size. Please listen to the guys that can actually articulate the knowledge well and can actually give you some good info with, you know, with your best interest at heart, because that is very, very hard to find. And I feel like I've wasted a lot of years of my progress simply down to wrong advice and being misled by many people who I thought was knowledgeable, but realistically there wasn't. And it actually held me back from making a lot of progress. So be open-minded. Do not allow anyone to put you off from chasing your dreams. Be patient, and please take your time. Do not rush it. You've got all the years ahead of you. Potentially, you could be competing for the next 20 years. You do not need to complete your whole bodybuilding journey in the next 12 months. Be mindful of that.
Awesome. Kuba, thank you so much. Before I do a really quick outro and I let you go, why don't you give us your Instagram, any shout outs, anything else you want to leave us? The platform's yours.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. So my Instagram is Kuba Cielen. Same thing on YouTube. And huge shout out, obviously, to Jordan, my wife, Megan, and Charlie, business partner, and all UltraFlex Robin crew as well. I appreciate you all, guys. So that's pretty brief and sweet. And thank you so much for having me on and taking the time out as well. Anytime you want to get me on again, I'm pretty sure I can schedule something else, and you can pick some more topics to talk through as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kuba. I'm going to do a quick outro and then I'll let you go. Okay.
Appreciate it, buddy.
All right. All of you who are tuning into this episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. Quickly here as we wrap up this great chat with Kuba today. If you have not done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's where I release all of these episodes first, and then I'll distribute them to iTunes, CastBox, Podbean, and some of the other major podcast platforms. So if you want to stay up current on all the latest episodes of Behind the Muscle podcast, make sure you are subscribed on YouTube. Then also take this episode, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Kuba, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know that you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.